Spotlight, where I chat with creative, fun, and talented people in and around pop culture. And today, I am super excited because I love sneakers so much, and it just so happens that today I'm going to be talking to Nike sneaker designer Tobie Hatfield. Tobie has been designing sneakers for Nike for over 30 years, and he has designed sneakers for such athletes as Olympic gold medalist Michael Johnson, tennis star Maria Sharapova, and so many more. I talk about all this and more in my interview with Tobie Hatfield. So now, without further ado, here's my interview with Tobie Hatfield. You've been with Nike for about 32 years. Is that right?
It'll be 32. Yeah, this coming the end of July of this year will be 32 years.
Okay. So you started out as an athlete and a coach. Can you talk a little bit about your experience as an athlete?
Yeah, I mean, I was that's all I knew was sports growing up. My dad was a coach. He was the athletic director at our high school. I have an older brother who some people may know about from the design world as well. Yeah. And so I watched him, play sports, my dad coaching sports. He was an athletic director. We were always at the school. So my life was sports. Mm-hmm. And so I just knew that was something that I wanted to pursue as well. And the thing is, Sienna, I tried all different kinds of sports too. I think there's a lot of kids these days that hone in on one sport early on, which, that's fine. But I do also like when kids, young athletes, they do try all different kinds of sports, and it can also help their chosen sport if they do some other ones. It makes them more well-rounded. And so I tried all kinds of sports, and eventually, I landed on in track and field as a pole vaulter. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I ended up doing in college and a little bit after college. But I just did sports all the time, Sienna, and I just also became a fan of sports. I love watching sports. So it's not just about me competing and, or even seeing my children competing. And hopefully soon, in the next 5 to 10 years, I'll have, I'll see some of my grandchildren compete as well. But I'm just a fan of sports. I'm your prototypical the fan of fanatic.
Yeah, and like you said too, with like trying different sports. I mean, I know some people like consider dance like a sport, some people don't. But like even besides dance, my other main sport I do is tennis. And
oh yeah,
before I did I do tennis mainly now, but I've done basketball, soccer. I did lacrosse for like a little while. Yep. I think that was pretty much it. But that was a few big main sports that I did.
That's great for you to do that, because let's say you decide to continue on in dancing and that continues to be a main thing for you. Those other sports will they'll actually help you be a better dancer. There's so many great things that come out of being in sports.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be the best. I mean, certainly there are some great goals to have. But the human body was meant to move. And our co-founder, Bill Bowerman, said, if you have a body, you are an athlete. So that includes dancers. Dancers are definitely athletes for sure. Yeah. And I've been around some dancers, and they are amazing athletes. All kinds of different dancers as well, whether it's tap or it's lyrical or it's breakdancing. They all have their athletic abilities, and it's just amazing to see. And I love to watch that. And yeah. I love to even watch those shows, The World of Dance, or if you think you can, or, any of the other ones. I love watching those because I love to see talent, and I love to see just how they do it, and knowing that, I wish I could do that. I wish I could do that. And I know I can't do everything.
Yeah.
but I just love to see people, go after their potential and hopefully reach their potentials, whatever their goals are. And I can't wait to see you by the way, Sienna. I can't wait to see what you do over the next few years as you go into adulthood. It'll be amazing to see, what you end up actually focusing in on at some point. But for now, yeah, try all kinds of things. It's great.
Yeah, thank you. And did you pay a lot of attention to your own sneakers at the time?
When I was in sports,
Yeah.
I can honestly say I didn't pay a lot of attention, but I knew that the importance of having sneakers, especially in a sport like track and field, where you need the traction. And
Mhm.
so those spikes that come out and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff, there's all kinds of different basketball shoes and tennis shoes and what have you. And a lot of those shoes you can wear on the court and off the court. But you can't wear a sprint spike, or you shouldn't wear a sprint spike to the
Yeah.
mall, right?
Yeah, like that was if you're wearing like soccer cleats to the mall. Like,
Yeah, that just wouldn't be too good. It's not good for you. It's not good for the floors. It's not good for anything other than the sport. So you have to pay attention to some of those real specific shoes that are only used for the sport and not outside the sport. So that was probably when I paid attention the most. But I certainly didn't really look at them from a design perspective too much.
yeah.
Although Bill Bowerman, our co-founder, made me my first pair of custom spikes when I was a senior in high school. And he redid the spike bottom and he repositioned the spikes after he told me to go get my feet x-rayed. And I'm like, why do I need to get my feet x-rayed? I'm not injured or anything. And he goes, just go do it. And so I did. 10 days later, he comes back and I look and he repositioned all the spikes. And he goes, this is why I had your feet x-rayed, because I was able to see where all your bones are for you, because your position of your bones is probably going to be a little bit different than the next person. So these spikes, I want them to match just specifically to you. So he custom made and changed all those spikes pattern to my bony pattern on the bottom of my feet. And I think, at the time, I didn't know that he was teaching me innovation at that time. And innovation is thrown around a lot, that word, but it really is about doing things that no other people are doing. And nobody at that time was doing that kind of stuff, making custom, I was a senior in high school.
Yeah.
And I was decent for my state, but anyway, it was really cool. And so I did pay attention. I wish I paid attention more, but I certainly do now.
Did you see yourself getting into designing sneakers at any time before you started?
No, I did not. I've been asked that before in interviews, and I really like to say that design, especially designing sneakers, found me more than I found it. And I kind of migrated into it as I started at Nike. I wasn't a designer right at the beginning. For the first few years, I was doing materials. I was understanding and learning about materials that go into the shoes. I was learning and understanding about the development and how to basically make shoes. Then they sent me to Taiwan, and I was working with the factories every day for almost 5 years. And then I got into engineering. And so it was kind of a progression. But the thing that never left me, Sienna, was the fact that I always wanted to help athletes. And I call myself a friend to the runner's feet, or to the athlete's feet. Because I want to know what they like, what they don't like. And then solve problems as there's a need to solve.
Yeah. Is there like a step-by-step process for designing a sneaker?
There is a process. I think when I'm in innovation, and so innovation means you're trying things that are new. Like I said before, kind of the definition of doing things that other people haven't done before. Other industries, even other companies in your own industry, just doing new things, maybe even inventing something new. And so when you when you invent something new, or you're trying something new, you're trying a new material, a new process, that step by step, that you've done before, maybe it'll probably change. It might not be in the same order, and you might add a step, you might take away a step. So in innovation, it's really there's no one formula that really works so well. Now, I will say though, Sienna, when we're working with athletes, that formula is pretty much the same, meaning we have to understand the athlete and what the athlete wants and what the athlete needs. What are the problem areas? What are the areas that they like, what they don't like? Those kinds of questions with the athlete are pretty similar almost every time. And it doesn't matter if it's a well-known athlete or it's a recreational athlete. There's pretty much the same process there. But when it gets down to actually the design, it can really change depending on what you're trying to come up with. And if it's a brand new, it's really going to be very different, that process.
What was the most challenging sneaker you've worked on?
Oh, the most challenging. I would say overall, because there's a lot of challenges. There's the sneaker itself, and the challenges, the materials, and any kind of new technology that you're trying to come up with or whatever. There's also the challenge of getting it into the marketplace. But before you get it into the marketplace, we also have to convince our own leadership that it's a good thing. So the athlete may think it's a great thing. I may think it's a great thing. We got to make sure that our leadership thinks it's a great thing. And then, of course, people who potentially could buy it in the marketplace. So overall, if I look at all of that, I would say Nike Free was probably the most difficult, because it was something about, doing something with your, when we're talking about natural motion, athletes trying to go, working out barefoot to strengthen their feet. But not everybody can do that because they don't have a nice golf course to go run on all the time. They don't, they may live in the city, so there's concrete and asphalt. So you still need the shoes for protection. But can we make a shoe that behaves more like barefoot while you're covered at the same time in a shoe? And so that was difficult, because we had to do a ton of testing to make sure that it was working and that the athletes were getting a true benefit out of it. But we also had to convince our own internal sales force and some of our upper management that it was a good thing as well.
Can you talk a little bit about the Air Max 90 Fly's and how that came about?
You mean this one?
Oh, wow. Yes, I do.
That's the one you're talking about, right?
Yeah, when I was watching, and I was watching a video of you and your brother, and I think talking about it a little bit. And I think my favorite part about it is like the heel, and I think it's just so cool how it goes like up and down, and then it's so easy to slip your foot in and out.
Well, as you can probably understand, that this is kind of two technologies or two shoes in one.
Yeah.
So it's taking my brother's initial design of the Air Max 90 from 1990 and the very first Air Max shoe, and then adding this very contemporary modern technology 30 years later, essentially, because this is we made this for the 30th anniversary of the Air Max. So it took 30 years to get this heel on there. but the Fly Ease component started actually way back in the early 2000s, when one of our very first employees, Jeff Johnson, had a stroke, and he had a hard time putting his own shoes on after the stroke, unfortunately. And so we just thought, let's help him out, one individual, to help get his shoes on for himself. So we took away the laces and we made things easier to get in from the back side instead of coming in from the top side.
Yeah.
And in fact, we started out by using zippers. And here's one of the very, very first Fly East. So this has a zipper. As you
Oh.
can see here, it zips open and it just opens up the back. And so
Ah.
now somebody who can't raise their foot very high doesn't have to go very far now to lift and then just slide in. But if it were the normal shoe, you have to come all the way up here and then dive down in like you would normally put in.
Yeah.
That's easy for people who have the strength and the agility all the time, but not as easy if you have a stroke or other issues at hand. And
Yeah.
so we did this, and eventually it took many, many years to get to the point where we were able to get it into commercial shoes. In 2015, we were able to do that. So since 2015, we've had other people that have worked on other types of technologies of Fly Ease, not just the zipper. I did the zipper, but other people started doing the tailgate, which we call this the tailgate. And then there's another one that you might have heard about. I don't know, but this one is cool because it actually hinges
Oh,
and
wow.
breaks, and it's called the Nike Go. And you literally just put your foot in there and you step down, and it snaps back in, and then you go. Hence
It's really
the
cool.
name. Yeah, and then you put your other foot on the back of this, and it pops back open, and you just leave it like that until you're ready to put your foot back in and push it down again. So this was another one that's a couple other people invented, but it's still in the Fly Ease family.
Yeah.
And so Tinker and I, we knew that the Air Max 90 was coming up on its 30th anniversary. And we thought, well, what's a way to maintain the the essence of the Air Max, but 90, but freshen it up and also give it something that just, again, is something that everybody can utilize. And so we said, let's get the tailgate on there. So in working with Tinker, I designed this shape, and then with his help, I wanted to make sure if we put it on the back here that it doesn't take away from the overall look of the Air Max 90.
Yeah.
And so, he would have some suggestions, I'd have some suggestions, and ultimately we come up with this shape, so that when you put your foot down now, instead of the zipper or instead of the Go, all you do is you just push down. And so now you go from this height to that height. And again, you just simply slide your foot in. Sorry, we got technical difficulties here. Slide your foot in, and then it pops back up, and then you're ready to go. So you really only need to tie your laces, in this case, once. We still have the laces, but you only have to tie it one time.
Mm-hmm.
And now you can get in and out of it without untying and retying, which is really cool. And so I use these. I put on these almost every day because they're just too easy. I guess I can get lazy and not do it, but and not worry about my laces.
That's such a smart idea too.
Thank you.
And do you look at people's feet? I know this is like a little bit of a weird question, but do you look at people's feet all the time? And like when you're just like walking around and like just like stare at them to like, because like you design sneakers and stuff?
Sienna, it's kind of, yeah, I do all the time. My wife and I just came back. We were just in the Florida Keys for a little bit of vacation. And so we were in the airports, and the airport is one of the places I people watch the most, probably. That and malls, of course, but airports, just because it's such a variety of people coming in and out that are traveling.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious, what are they wearing? What are on their feet? And I'm not counting how many people have Nike on versus others. It's not that. I'm just curious, what do people, what are they traveling in? What is it that, to me, that's like, they're probably, if I'm going to choose a shoe to travel in, and if it's a long travel, probably comfort is going to be a big issue, right? And meaning I want something that's more comfortable. So are people, do they have the same mindset that I'm having as far as comfort? But maybe they're on a short trip and it doesn't matter. Maybe it's only an hour long flight. And, if I'm going into landing in Atlanta and I have a layover, I'm on a long flight, but maybe some other people are on a short flight. So it's not always about comfort. A lot of times it also how does it match your outfit? How does it, how does it look? How does it make you feel? And so I'm just curious without asking them. I go through my own mind games on, why people chose the footwear that they did. But yeah, Sienna, yeah, I do it all the time. I just can't help myself. I can't help myself at all. And oh, by the way, because we're in the Florida Keys, we were at the beach. I do look at people, again, it kind of sounds weird, but I do look at people's just bare feet too. I'm very interested on, people, the shape of people's feet, and it can tell me a lot because it changes depending on how what you put on your feet, what you don't put on your feet.
Yeah.
If women wear a lot of pumps, their feet change, because they're very, very narrow shoes.
Yeah.
If you're someone who lives, let's say, and I can tell almost who lives in the Keys, Florida Keys, or lives in Hawaii versus who are the travelers,
Yeah.
because of the width of the feet, the space of the toes, all of that is very fascinating to me. And
Yeah.
I told you I had grandchildren, and I'm just fascinated with their feet when they first come out. And so I take a picture. In fact, I think on my background here, you probably can't see it, but there's a foot.
Oh yeah, I see it.
That's a I can't really, I don't know how to change it so you can see it. Yeah, that one's a little bit easier.
Yeah, I can see it.
That's my grandson's foot.
Uh-huh.
Maybe when he was a couple days old, and I've done that. I have 4 grandchildren, one more coming in April, and I've done that pretty much with each one of them, is just take a picture of their feet and display it just for me. Well, now for you and all of your viewers, but it's just fascinating to me to see the shape of people's feet.
Yeah, that's cool too. Yeah, sometimes like I love outfits too, and like I just like putting together outfits and like shoes
Yeah.
and stuff like that. I love that sort of stuff too. And
And
going.
do you wear shoes that match your outfits, or how does that work for you?
I like to like so recently for my 2 favorite Nikes that I have, because I just got these for Christmas, is I have the Air Max 270s.
Yep.
And it's like, I think it's black and white. It's black and white or gray or white. It's like something like that. And I like those because I know it's kind of like a funny reason, but I like the heel because it makes me a little bit taller, and I'm short for my age. So I like that little extra height. But they're also very good. They're comfy too. Like I like how the fabric isn't like that, like not that much. Like it's like thin fabric. And then I like to wear those with like, I don't, not as much with those because those very much match with a lot of things. But I also got for Christmas these like pink and white and like I think it's like a black swoosh Air Jordans. Yeah, and that's very popular right now. Pretty much like all the girls in my grade have like their different color Air Jordans, and that's very popular right now. And I like to like kind of put that with like a pink sweatshirt,
Yeah. Kind of hook it up a bit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I think, actually, I think you and I have a very similar, even though we're so far apart in age. But I think, you look at the neutral colors, like you said, with the black and white or the gray and white one, neutral colors can pretty much go with almost anything. And I think having the contrast is sometimes a cool design feature too, by the way. Like sometimes when I've done, presentations when we could do presentations before COVID, to big audiences and things like that. I might be wearing a suit, and it might be a very dark suit, but I might wear white shoes, white tennis shoes, like white sports shoes, white Nikes, just to have that contrast and to kind of show that off a little bit and not necessarily have it all dark or have it all black or have it all gray. And so don't be afraid to have the contrast either, because it can be kind of cool.
Yeah, definitely. I've definitely worn. I think I wear the pink ones with like a black and like an orange sweatshirt too before.
There you go.
How has like the sneaker industry changed? Like in the Nike company changed since you started? Do you think it's changed at all? And if so, like how?
Oh yeah, it's changed a lot. I mean, I started like we said earlier on. I've been going almost 32 years. So 1990 I started, and um, I would say that industry, there's some more companies, there's more players involved now, and I would say that most of the change, is definitely around, you know, having shoes. And if I talk about shoes, because I design more shoes than I've done like apparel, so I can't speak to the apparel as much. But on the shoes side, there's been so many new technologies, and honestly, I can say that Nike's been at the forefront of most of those technologies. Not just only starting with Air as a cushioning platform earlier on, but doing the Nike Free stuff and doing the Nike Fly Ease stuff and the Fly Wire and Fly Knit. We're knitting shoes now where you don't have to cut and sew. And so it just comes off the knitting machine, as a full upper, and so there's just the technologies. One thing that hasn't changed though too much is that it's still not a very automated process, where, like electronics and hard goods, cars, things like that, appliances, um, those can be made on an assembly line with hardly any people on them.
Yeah.
Shoes are still pretty much handmade today. I mean, there's definitely some automations that have happened over the last 30 years,
Yeah.
but there's still a lot of hands that touch a shoe, before it gets into your hands or the consumer's hands.
Mhm.
And so all of these details are still a lot to do with, human hands making it. And so it's just a very difficult product to automate.
Yeah.
But we have new materials, of course, and new ways of doing some things. But it's and now we have been putting electronics into shoes, which we've never done. We are the first ones to put in electronics that actually tightens the shoe for you, which was called the hyper adapt shoe. And it had a motor. It has a motor in it, and a battery system, because it has to have power on board. So there's a lot of things, Sienna, that are happening, that are moving more and more towards the digital world and the electronics world, just like almost everything else too, by the way. But for the most part, it's still about what's best for the athlete. What
Yeah.
do they want? What do they not? What do they don't want? We need to know all of that, and also we talked about that comfort thing. When people ask about what are the most important features of a shoe, of course, there's the visual aspect. How does it look for the people that want it? But for the most part, the simple technology that people still want the most is, does it fit and is it comfortable?
Mhm.
And so, especially for sports shoes, but I think that is moving into, let's say, casual shoes as well, and sometimes even dress shoes. And even though we don't do those kinds of shoes, the influence of the sport industry has moved into those other types of shoes as well. So I think that those are kind of some of the changes that we see that have happened over the last 30 years. But it's not a ton. It's not like going from like a huge thick TV to a thin screen TV. It's not as much of that, because it's so difficult to make shoes with robots and things like that.
Yeah. Um, and is there a sneaker that hasn't yet been designed that you would like to see?
um, I think the shoes that maybe I would like to do are shoes for maybe new sports,
Mm.
and or shoes that sports already have. Most sports have their shoes already, but maybe Nike hasn't, been into those sports as much as maybe not even at all. And I mentioned we'd recently getting into dance shoes and stuff like that. And I love working with new athletes, new sports. And that's kind of my favorite thing, quite frankly.
What sneakers do you wear? Like, what are like your go-to sneakers?
Well, I told you this one already.
Yeah.
That's one. I still like to wear Prestos that I did. This is the Presto shoe. And again, it's all about fit and comfort. For me, in my older age, fit and comfort is even a bigger deal. So getting in and out of shoes easier, wearing them, so your feet don't hurt at any point during the day, those kinds of things. So I would say Fly East type of shoes, Presto shoes. I would say also in working out, I still wear Nike Frees. This is the latest Nike Free shoe. The comfort of these is just amazing, and the flexibility and everything is
Flexible.
yeah, it's just so flexible. I can roll it up into a ball. I mean, is that crazy? And it just poof, springs springs sprung out of my hand. It's so springy. But it's a great. It allows my feet to do what they want to do when I'm working out. So I would say between these shoes, and I do wear some. I do love wearing some Jordans now and then. Especially with some maybe even in a more semi-formal setting. I'll wear some really, really nice Jordans.
Yeah, what is your personal dream sneaker like look like? Do you think?
Well, Bill Bowerman, back to our co-founder, said the ultimate, let's say, track spike, would be putting nails in the bottom of your feet, so you could have better traction because your bare feet just don't have that great a traction for going really fast. So it's probably a shoe that doesn't look like a shoe. It's probably something that we've never seen before, and it's super lightweight. When we did the Michael Johnson track spike, which is the gold track spike for the 1996 Olympics, and the Michael Johnson gold spikes, this is the lightest track spike ever at 3.9 ounces, which this is lighter than my cap that I'm wearing on my head, but it's on my feet. And so, we're always looking to try to go lighter, stronger, faster. And I think, as new materials come online and new processes, we'll be able to, get even better than this kind of, spike and shoe. But yeah, I think, I think we were meant, to be on our, go bare feet. And so I'm not advocating that we just, diss our shoes and we just go, because the reason why is because society now, we live in a society now for hundreds of years where there's hard ground, meaning there's asphalt, there's concrete. It's just not conducive. So you still need this foam cushion, for your joints above the feet, like your ankle joints, your knee joints, your hip joints. But we can continue to help in a shoe like Nike Free to allow your feet to move as if they are barefoot, close to barefoot, with the protection of the cushioning underneath your feet, and still strengthen your feet. And we think because of that, you're going to have less injuries. And if you have less injuries, then you can do more things.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about, right? You just want to be able to have fun.
Yeah. And my last question for you is something I was thinking when I was like thinking of some good questions to ask you, because there's so many interesting things to ask. I was like, I always like to end up my interviews with like a funny sort of one, or one that like doesn't really have to relate to like the whole interview about. So when I was, you're the director of the Innovation Kitchen, right? And when I was thinking Innovation Kitchen, I never knew what it was before, and I was like, this isn't sneakers. This doesn't have anything to do with food." So on that note, is there like a favorite snack that you like to eat?
Oh gosh, yeah, probably too many. Um, I I love. Well, can I give you two?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, all right. Well, I love barbecue potato chips. They're kind of like one of my favorites. It's kind of, no, sometimes I just like the salt, but I love the kind of the barbecue smokiness of the barbecue flavor and the salt. And I also like to put them in tomato soup, which probably more information than you wanted to know. But I can eat them alone by itself. And then the second one is on the sweet side. So that's the salty side. On the sweet side, I love licorice. Black licorice though, not red, not like red ropes, but real true black kind of licorice. And I know a lot of people probably don't. It's kind of a love-hate kind of thing. Some people don't like it. Like a lot of people in my own family don't like black licorice. But my dad loved it. I think even my mom loved it too. My brother and myself, and so it was kind of a family thing. And so I just kind of continued to. So whenever I go overseas, especially in Europe, they like black licorice, I think, more than the United States. And so I see it more over there. So I try to get different kinds of black licorice from different places, even in Australia, in Europe, even in some of the Caribbean islands. There are some different black licorices, and I just love to eat that. But you can't eat too much of it. It's actually not necessarily good to eat too much of it, but it's good if you eat a little bit. It's actually, there's some good health properties, but only if you have a little bit of it. So I can have it a lot. But so barbecue potato chips, black licorice.
This is so fun talking to you. I learned so much. I love sneakers and so much, and you've taught me a lot of stuff that I definitely would have never knew and like never known before. And I want to thank you so much. It was such a pleasure talking to you.
Oh, well, the pleasure is totally all mine, Sienna. I love talking to the next generations, and it's definitely in good hands. I see you and see what you're doing here with your web series and your acting and your dancing. You are truly amazing, and keep up the great work. And I can't wait to see all the things that you do in your next few years. It'll be fantastic. I'm sure it will be. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're on your way. You're on your way. Yeah. I hope someday we can meet in person, by the way.
That'd be amazing. Definitely.
Yeah. And maybe you can also meet some of my granddaughters. And I have one that's 8 years old, so a little younger than you, but I'm sure you would be a great inspiration to them. You have an aura about you, and that is very inviting, and I'm sure kids love being around you. I love being around you, so thank you.
I love being around you too. I had so much fun talking to you. Bye.
Right. Take care.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hatfield, for taking the time to speak with me. I had so much fun talking to you, and I love the work you've done on these sneakers. Well, that's it for today. See you next time on Spotlight.